These are this afternoon's top stories. Tough Knots defeat hitters in Game 5. Guyana's draft code of conduct to be publicly scrutinized. And Egyptian forces mistakenly kill 12 in a Mexican tourist convoy. Good afternoon. Welcome to the ZIZ Mid newscast. Today is Monday, 14th September 2015. I am Nisha David. In national news, the Kittitian held St. Paul's Tough Knots at the 2015 winners in the St. Kitts Nevis Amateur Basketball Association's Premier Division League. Game 5 of the very intense finals was played on Sunday at Basketball City, and the St. Paul's team delivered a severe beating to the Bastia Boys of Rams hitters. The final score was 87-68. Leading the way for Tough Knots was Nashon Maynard with 20 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals and 8 blocked shots. Caris Douglas scored 18 points and picked up 11 rebounds, 5 assists and 2 steals, while Clayton Powell got 17 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists and 2 steals. The hitters Tyrone Hutchinson led all scorers with 22 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists and 5 steals. The second highest scorer for that team was David Powell with 12 points, 6 rebounds and 5 blocked shots. On September 19th, St. Kitts and Nevis will recognize 32 years of independence, and events scheduled for this year's celebrations under the theme United in Building a Stronger Nation are underway. The past weekend saw the hosting of a flower show at the St. George's Anglican Church Hall, a mini marathon from Keon to Greenlands, and the National State Service at Charlestown Methodist Church in Nevis. Today, Monday, some schools are hosting their annual patriotic programs, and ministers of government are expected to be in attendance. The Prime Minister's lecture series will take place on Tuesday at the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank Auditorium at 7 p.m. Independence Day, September 19th, falls on a Saturday this year, and according to Senator the Honorable Wendy Phipps, the holiday will be observed that same day. The Intellectual Property Office, the IPO, will soon be operating at a much more efficient rate. This comes following Friday's launch of the Industrial Property Automation System, IPAS. IPAS is an integrated intellectual property administration system that can automate the processing of trademarks, patents, and industrial designs. Attorney General and Minister of Justice and Legal Affairs, the Honorable Vincent Byron, said the launch of the new system will significantly enhance the capabilities of the Intellectual Property Office.
On a departmental level, this project represents the Intellectual Property Office's efforts to increase efficiency and to better serve intellectual property stakeholders in the Federation and across the world. This is one of the many steps being undertaken to modernize and streamline the process and improve the delivery of service by the IPO, Intellectual Property Office, through the significant decrease in processing time and increase in accuracy.
According to Minister Byron, the launch of IPAS also forms part of the government's thrust to encourage the creativity and viability of its people.
The importance of intellectual property, although often overlooked, cannot be overstated. We, the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, are people of great creativity and talent. We need look no further than with our own borders to understand the wealth of intellectual property in music. It is extremely important that all creators and rights holders, whether they are resident in the Federation or abroad, be confident in the Federation's ability to recognize and appreciate the value of offering adequate protection for their intellectual property.
Regionally, a draft code of conduct that will determine how ministers and public servants behave while in office is to be released for the input of all Guyanese, that country's government recently announced. HGPTV News in Guyana reports.
The sometimes unethical and indecent behavior of government officials have often come into question. And as the APNU-AFC government takes its first turn at managing the country, it wants to safeguard itself by having its ministers guided by a code of conduct. A draft of this is expected to soon be released for members of the public to scrutinize.
It was believed that we should open it up for criticism and critique and for it to be distilled and refined.
Raphael Trotman, Minister of Governance. He told reporters at a post-cabinet press briefing on Wednesday that the document will not be finalized until it is refined to the liking of the public. By doing so, the administration believes that it will be safeguarding itself from accusations of partiality.
We thought that in the end that it would be better to share it with the public and then finalize it rather than say to the public, this is our final document, because in a sense, you'd be legislating for yourself. And in doing so, you run the risk of, one, having, of course, a natural bias to lessen the harshness of such a document, and secondly, you run the risk of being accused even if your intention was not to do so.
It is hoped that the process of public vetting would be completed within a matter of weeks.
If the press would help us by posting it in the newspapers and social media, and of course we will monitor the results and the comments, both good and bad, and of course, as I said, take it through a distillation process.
Although the code of conduct is yet to be implemented, Trotman disclosed that in the interim, members of government are operating in accordance with the draft document. The APNU-AFC announced the code of conduct during late July, fulfilling one of its campaign promises earlier in the year. The document seeks to address issues of transparency and corruption, misconduct in public office, and graft. Although many public officials have been fingered in a number of these practices, very few, if any, have been sanctioned. The Code of Conduct for Ghana's public officials is reportedly an adaptation of best practices that prevail in major countries across the world, including those in the United Kingdom. Rihanna Ahmad, HGP Nightly News.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Education and Human Resource Development in Dominica, after conducting a post-ERICA assessment, have concluded that the physical structure of several schools have been affected in one way or another. The joint organization said their main objective is to ensure the safety of both teachers and students, and that they are able to function in an environment that is safe, healthy, and conducive to learning. The assessment was carried out on access routes to schools located in areas where roadways have been affected, as well as the physical structure of schools to ensure that the teachers and the students were not exposed to further danger while in the classroom. Some schools are still without pipe-borne water, therefore alternative means will be provided. All of the schools not affected reopened today, September 14th. The assessment was carried out on 75 schools in total. In international news, Mexico is mourning the death of 2 of its citizens and the wounding of several other tourists who were mistaken for terrorists by Egyptian security forces.
Egyptian authorities say the police and military have accidentally killed 12 people, including at least 2 Mexican nationals. Reports suggest a convoy carrying Mexican and Chilean tourists was travelling through the Black Desert in the western Al-Wahat al-Bahariya region when authorities opened fire. 10 others are being treated in hospital, according to a statement by the Interior Ministry. A team from the police and armed forces was said to be pursuing terrorist elements when the shootings happened at around midnight on Sunday. The Mexican president condemned the attack. His Egyptian counterpart has ordered a full investigation. A spokesperson from Egypt's tourism ministry said the group was not authorised to be in the area, a claim the tour operator refutes.
And Kentucky clerk Kim Davis returns to work today, Monday, after she was briefly jailed for contempt of court for refusing to issue marriage licenses to same-sex couples. Here are the developments from Headline News.
The attorneys for Kim Davis filed the appeal on Friday in front of the Sixth Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals, asking for a delay in marriage licenses. Their argument is that all of those who were seeking marriage licenses have been granted them. Therefore, when Kim Davis returns to office on Monday, she should not be required, nor should her office be required, to issue those licenses. A lower court denied the appeal, so now the attorneys are taking it to a higher court in attempts of getting a resolution there. All along, Davis has maintained that her moral beliefs as a Christian don't allow her to issue those same-sex marriage licenses. She simply is opposed to them and essentially has said she'd rather break federal law than break her moral conscience. Her supporters, they've equated her to a Christian martyr, saying that she represents everything right about the Christian right, and her critics, they want her to resign. This is an elected position that she has there as the county clerk in Roane County, Kentucky. Many are asking, why not just hold a special election or perhaps a referendum there for Kim Davis? On Monday, she goes back to work, and her attorney, when asked by CNN, was unwilling to say whether or not Davis would do more of the same and deny those marriage licenses, simply saying that his client, Davis, has an oath to God, an oath that she is unwilling to break.
Taking a look at the weather, winds are blowing from the east at 16 to 23 miles per hour, while seas remain moderate with waves swelling up to 5 feet. The approach of a weak tropical wave will result in skies initially being partly sunny, becoming locally cloudy later today into tonight, with periods of widely scattered showers developing. Sunset for today is expected around 6:13 p.m., while sunrise for tomorrow should be at 5:59 a.m. Today's temperature will peak at 82 degrees Fahrenheit. That brings us to the end of the ZIZ Mid newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you for joining us. I'm Nisha David.